Hey guys, I'm Dr. Anthony Gustin.
And I'm Chris Irvin.
And this is question number 13
of 268
of questions about the ketogenic diet. So we just launched a book, Keto Answers. It details every single answer to every single question you have about the ketogenic diet. So number 13.
Are carbs bad for you?
Yeah.
Horrible. Worst thing you can do.
They're going to kill you. Just kidding. No, it's not the case. So the answer here is it depends, right? Mm-hmm. And so people like to lump carbs and think about macronutrients as a very specific thing, just protein, fat, and carbs. And carbs can come in a bunch of different sources.
Yeah, so there's obviously a really big difference between a processed carbohydrate, which a lot of us are having too many of nowadays, versus a more whole food natural carbohydrate source.
Yeah, why carbs in a huge amount right now are bad for most people is because when they're younger, they're just raised on really terrible foods. For instance, I was super overweight when I was younger, and it was because I was eating a lot. I was hiding Doritos under my bed, eating them, seriously. Eating Snickers bars, just like eating tons and tons and tons of processed foods and carbohydrates. That ends up messing up your metabolism, changing your microbiome. Then you become insulin resistant. Mm-hmm. And
I think that's the biggest thing to take into consideration when we're looking at are carbohydrates bad for us. For somebody who has a really healthy metabolism, somebody who hasn't been overeating carbohydrates for a long period of time, especially processed carbohydrates, then carbs might not be bad for you and you may be able to use them as an effective fuel source. But for somebody who has been chronically over-consuming carbohydrates and who has developed insulin resistance, your body no longer uses carbohydrates well anymore. So for somebody like that, I would say carbohydrates are bad because they're not going to really be an effective fuel source anymore. They're just going to be driving up inflammation and further contributing to the health problems that you have.
Yeah, a lot of people though, when they change their ketogenic diet, get kind of afraid and they think that any carb is bad, and you're not going to eliminate all carbs unless you switch to a carnivorous diet where you're eating only animal products. Mm-hmm. So you can be in a ketogenic state and be using fat for fuel while still consuming some carbohydrates.
Yeah, and I think nowadays it's that we have access to carbohydrates, massive amounts of them, that we can eat them year round in abundance. Especially when we look at fruit, which is always considered to be one of the healthier carbohydrate sources. Now people are replacing sweets with fruit and they're consuming massive amounts of it. And fruit still contains a lot of sugar. So just because it's from a natural source and it's a plant doesn't mean that it's necessarily good for us.
Right. And so I think that it's worth testing. So I tested what works for me, and when I'm not on a ketogenic diet, I can eat things like plantains and sweet potatoes, but things like white rice really spike my blood sugar. So one thing you can do is just eat something, test every 15 minutes your blood sugar, and see if it spikes for a long period of time. Potatoes, sweet potatoes specifically, and plantains don't really do that to me, but it may do it to you. It's a very individual process. Yeah,
so I'd say the easiest way to look at this answer is when you ask, are carbohydrates bad for you? Processed carbs, yes, bad for you. Natural carbs, not necessarily, depending on your metabolic state. So for a lot of you guys if you're coming to the ketogenic diet for weight loss, then it's probably because you have some degree of insulin resistance. At least in that short-term period when you're starting keto, I would say that carbs of any source are probably bad for you because you're trying to repair your metabolism. But as you get accustomed to keto, you may be able to start reintroducing some of these more whole food variations of carbs.
Yep, so carbs won't kill you. Could be bad for you, not always.
Yep.
If you're looking to simplify everything you need to know about the world's most confusing diet, head on over to Amazon.com and pick up Keto Answers today. The best part about it is that you're not just getting basic information. It's almost like you're getting a tiny little version of me and Chris shrunk down, put in your pocket to answer every question you have along your way.
And that's not weird, it's beneficial.
It's the best.